In this video, I want to show you how to take a word that you find in your Bible, do a search on that word throughout the whole Bible to find out other places it might be, to save that search as a passage list, and then to use that passage list to search through your library. So instead of just searching for one verse, you're using multiple verses on that have the same word to search your library. And this is really helpful with non-versified resources like most commentaries that are laid out verse by verse, and you can search. This is a wonderful tool to be able to search a word, but not just the word, really verses, and have a passage list that you can utilize to search through. And I'm going to show you how to do that in a collection. So I've got a Bible open here, and I'm going to want to look at the word called here in verse 1 in Jude, where it says, to those who are called, beloved in God the Father, and kept for Jesus Christ. We've got a triplet there, and then a triplet down here: mercy, peace, and love. And so, but I want to look at this word called. I want to do a search for all the times that this word in this form is used within the Bible. So I'm going to right click on it. This is called the context menu. If you've not seen this before, it can be overwhelming, but this is part of the really good guts of Logos, and you need to become familiar with it to utilize Logos well. Up at the top left-hand side, there's two different options. The selection for called, which is what I'm on, or you can select the whole verse with reference Jude 1. And when you choose one of these things, notice the right-hand side is going to change in the context menu, because over here you have different options of what you want to do with what you've selected. So I want to make sure that I'm on called. And then under here we get all this wonderful information about things related to either that word or that verse, grammar, morphology, the Louda number, Strong's, all the things. So I'm going to make sure that I am on this lemma, which is the second one down in the second section on the left, kletos, which is called right there. And this is the dictionary form of the word. And because I've got that selected, now I'm able to come over here on the right-hand side and tell Logos what I want to do with it. So you can add a note, make a visual copy it, do a Bible word study, go to the fact book, all those things. But I want to search for this word in the Greek in this form in my Bible to see all sorts of hits that I get. So I'm going to come down here where it says search. And we've got just the Greek word kletos. We can do an inline search, a Bible search, all the open resources, all your books, and all search. I'm looking for this one, kletos, in that morphology. So I'm going to click on that, and then it opens up a search panel, a morph search panel, because we're searching the morphology of that word. And I've got the New American Standard Bible set as my favorite Bible, and it comes with 5 different verses. So Romans 1:7, Romans 8:28, 1 Corinthians 1:2, 1 Corinthians 1:24, and Jude 1. And so those are the verses that I'm searching. I'm going to go ahead and run a search, not with that construction, but just the Greek word kletos, and notice you get a lot more. And some of these are referred not to us being called as Christians, but like Paul talks about his calling. And so I may end up adding some of these to my passage list, like this in Revelation 17:4, where it talks about those who are with him are the called, chosen, and faithful. But for right now, I'm just going to do a simple search with these verses. Now, to save this as a passage list for later and to do searches, Logos makes this super simple. In the search panel, I'm going to come up here to the right-hand corner with the 3 dots, and then I'm going to look for this one that says Save as Passage List. Save as Passage List. I'm going to click on it. Logos is going to open up a new passage list document. Now this is saved in Logos for me, and I'm going to rename this. So I just click on the title. It's got the actual search query right there. I won't remember that. So I'm going to write called and keep it as that for our purposes. You can name it whatever you want. But now that passage list is ready to go. So I can use this passage list to search through my library for any time these verses are used. Very cool function. So I'm going to get rid of all this, and I'm going to open up a search panel. I'm going to make sure I'm on my books tab. And if you've not created collections, I believe there is a video on this channel that talks about collections, or just do a YouTube search for collections, or even in the help files with Logos. And a collection is a group of resources that you put together based on any number of data that you want. It might be an author, it may be just random books like my favorite author or my favorite books. It might be types of book that you put together. But when you have a large library, it lets you choose, say, hey, out of my thousands of books or hundreds of books, what are the 30 books that I want to look through, so that you're not overwhelmed with hits. You're able to find the information that you want in categories that you want. That's really important. So I'm going to come down, and let's say I'm going to use, I don't want to use my commentaries, but I've got kind of a random one called favorite books. So these are books, just some of my favorite books that I come back to time and time again. You probably have very different books than I would, and that's a good thing. Logos lets you do that. But to search through that passage, to use that passage list in this kind of search, you're going to type passage, and then Logos always has this drop-down menu for you, and they usually put this passage list at the bottom. So right there, so up at the top, you're going to see all this passage, sense stuff, and words, and all sorts of things. But when you scroll down to the bottom, you're looking for the one that has the diamond shape, and then it says passage list keyword. So I'm going to click on that. And the search term for that is passage list colon, so you can remember that for the future, passage list colon. And then Logos does this brilliant thing of bringing all my passage lists that I've created to me. And look at that one that looks like the fifth one down. That is called, that's the passage list that we just made. So when I click on that, passage list colon, it creates the search query, and I've got it under my favorite books list. It now is searching through my favorite books with anytime those verses, those 5 verses in that passage list are used. So really, really cool feature. So we're able to group these just like you would any search. So I could just in my library, my downloaded books, and go through those to see if any are helpful. A lot of times I am on the book type so that I can see the book. You can sort these by count. You can sort these all sorts of ways. But I'm usually on the book, so because a lot of times I'm able to, I've got all different kinds of books in that collection, and it's easy for me to narrow down of, yeah, this book would be helpful, this may not, depending on what kind of search I'm doing. So yeah, love this kind of searching. It puts the power of your Bible, doing word study. It puts the power of a passage list together very quickly. Instead of, you can open up a passage list and add verses individually, but just to be able to do a search like that, create a passage list in 2 clicks, and then to be able to use that passage list to search through your library. You don't have to use collections. You could also just say, hey, that passage list in all of my library, but look, I've got over 6,000 resources that utilize those verses. Now, it's not going to use all those verses. It'll use all the verses, but it's not going to just use resources that have all of those verses together. You're going to get hits in different ways, but it's going to pull up resources that I would not have thought to search when I do this kind of search. So a little bit longer video. I hope it made sense, because I think it's a little bit confusing, but these sorts of things I just love in Logos. Hey, if you have any questions or comments, don't hesitate to put a comment, or go to my website, preacherprep.com, send me a message. I will get back to you, and if it's something I think will be interesting, I'll make a video about it for someone else. Have a great week.